what we do is we focus on the health of a business. They're dying and they don't even know it because they don't have transparency into their financials.
What are the 3 key things that I have to look at?
Quickly focus on what your sales, what your margins look like, and what does your cash flow absolutely look like.
Are you seeing AI tools come in?
It allows much quicker access to data. The challenge is AI is not making decisions for you. Everyone always talks about sales. What's your sales? What's your sales? I wish the conversation would change to what's your profit?
Welcome to another episode of Humans of Staffing. Today we have Shane Glavin. He's the founder and president of PowerCFO and Power Partners. Welcome, Shane, to the podcast. I know we all just got introduced and met. You've met with us before with our team. So I wanted to really literally dive straight in to what you do, because we all understand staffing. We've been at it. TJ and myself have been at it now for well over 25 to 30 years in staffing. And looking at this, financial acumen has been the biggest challenge, even after so many years with everything that's moving, is a big challenge in our industry. It can make or break someone. So Shane, we'll let you do your piece. Tell us what you do, give us a little bit more depth, and see how our, at least our listeners can look at this and gain some great knowledge.
Yes. And first and foremost, thanks for having me on. I always tell folks I'm not a professional speaker, but I love to try to help. So anyone who is looking at this going, it's a little choppy. Well, that's because I didn't rehearse for 2 days. So anyway, let's jump into this. So what do we do? What we do is we focus on the health of a business. Too many times, we walk into a business owner's a strategy session, whether it's staffing industry or any other industry, and their business is sick. And we always share with individuals, especially when you start getting to my age, when you start getting into your 50s, what do they always tell you? Go to your doctor annually. You better have an annual checkout, right? Yeah. And so you do it. One of the important things of an annual health checkup is, what do they tell us guys? The blood pressure matters. It's a silent killer. Okay? A lot of us feel great and your blood pressure can be not good at all. Okay? We see the same thing with business owners. They feel great, meaning they got sales. Okay? They might not have the profit yet, but they know if they just keep trying harder with sales, it's going to get them there. The problem is they don't know what their blood pressure of the business is. They're dying and they don't even know it because they don't have transparency into their financials. And what we've identified is too many business owners look at back office support or that expertise as being an expense. Instead, it should be looked at as an investment, especially if you can tie a return on investment to it. Okay. So what I've done over the last year is I created what is called the profitability pyramid. And it's a 7-layered pyramid that focuses on different meaningful financial and operational focus areas. And you really can't go from 1 to 2 before you do number 1 really well, because it builds. But it's a proven pyramid that if you follow it, you will find the margin leakage and get margin to the bottom line. We've done this with companies where we had a very small staffing firm, $4 million in sales. They were operating in the red. By utilizing the profitability pyramid, they actually went down to about $3 million in sales the next year, but they had over $400,000 profit. So that's why I always challenge individuals, especially in the staffing vertical. Everyone always talks about sales. What's your sales? What's your sales? I wish the conversation would change to what's your profit? What's your profit? Because You could be doing 10 million in sales and operating in the red, or you could be doing 3 million in sales and be operating over 10% profit margin. So what we're trying to do with the profitability pyramid is create that right framework that individuals can visually see and connect the dots. So it doesn't just over their head. It allows them to better understand. They understand how important the blood pressure is to their business, to where they see this as an investment of their time so they can be profitable, not just have lots of sales. So that's what we do, is trying to spread the good word.
Shane, tell us a little bit about your background. What got you into this specific type of service?
Yeah, this is going to be a unusual response, but you asked, so I'm going to provide it for you. And sometimes the more personal reasoning matters. So I was raised very blue collar, very poor. And I always joke with individuals, every time there was a recession, I didn't have to turn the news on to know about it. My dad would lose his job, right? He would get laid off. I don't know how that happened. It always did. But my father was always able to pick up work through a staffing company when he was laid off. That helped us survive. And so fast forward many years later, I had the opportunity to interview at LaborMAX Staffing for their CFO position. And I went in and I loved it. Some of the most amazing people I've met are in staffing. They're real people. Okay. And so why did I jump into staffing? Is because I know how meaningful it is to people. It enriches people's lives. And so when I was at LaborMAX and we would go to some of these annual conferences, I'd remember sitting at the breakfast table. You know, they always have these big round tables and everyone's just meeting and greeting. And I would overhear individuals, TJ, talking about, hey, I'm getting X amount of rate on this. And they thought they were just got an amazing deal. And I'm sitting there thinking, you got a bad deal. Okay. And the more I thought through it, I was like, a lot of these small and mid-sized companies in staffing, they would do well if they had a strategic fractional CFO firm that they could work with to help get them some of those enterprise values, right? That they wouldn't get otherwise because they don't even know what they don't know. So that's why I jumped into staffing, is because I believe in enriching individuals' lives, and I came up very blue collar.
At which point is your insertion point into a firm, right? Is it something where a startup should be talking to you right up front? Is it somebody who's 3 to 5 years into it or much larger? What's that inflection insertion point where your services / your assistance would help them the best?
I think in this is a great question. I would say all those can be correct, but it's different. So, for example, a startup, it's really important. They know, I would say, the pecking order, what they need to focus on first. And so, for example, we have a client, the 2 years in, and they're trying to find a partner when it comes to assisting them with funding. They don't know who to talk to. So that's where we can come in on a very limited project basis and say, listen, let us introduce you to 5, 6 different funding partners, and we'll work with you to identify the right funding partner that's going to be helpful for you. It's not cookie cutter, and you guys get this, but too often it's cookie cutter, and we take a different approach. It's all about the unique DNA of that firm, that company, staffing company, and the owner. Personally, you have to understand what's important to them. It all it connects. So a startup, I think I would invest money early on to get things moving in the right direction from the get-go, instead of getting locked into a long contract that's very expensive and you're going to regret it down the road. Let's kind of fast forward that now to someone with 3 to 5 years of experience. You know, they've had their firm open for 3 to 5 years. They're trying to focus on, where are they at? What's important to them? Are they looking to, is it sales focus? Are they having work comp issues? I mean, let's face it, there's two major keys of failure in staffing. That's workers' comp and AR.
That's it.
Those are the two. And if you don't know that 3 to 5 years in, what are you going to be doing? Maybe taking on the wrong clients. Okay. How many times have you spoken to a staffing owner and they thought their best clients, they loved them. But after they started doing some analysis, they figured out we're not making that much money off what we thought were our best clients. And some of our, what we considered average clients, they're actually our best clients. Our margins are so much better. So they don't know. They don't know. So it's about that transparency. And now I'll tell you this, a staffing firm 3 to 5 years in, they are focused on speed. They need to be focusing on transparency. You know, that old concept about work smarter, not harder. If you have the visibility to your data, and what's most important is not only visibility, but you understand what your numbers are telling you. What's the story? So we always tell individuals, if you don't understand the story, your data is meaningless. Don't just say, yeah, I get monthly financials. Okay. Do you understand them? How does that fit into your 2026 business plan? Oh, you don't have one? Well, so you're flying blind. You know what your cash flow is? You don't? That's not good either. So it's all those kind of things with that in the 3 to 5 year, experience level with a firm. That's the kind of stuff that they definitely need to be focused on. Because what you don't want to do is, let's fast forward 7 to 10 years. Now you're stuck with a whole bunch of bad processes. You haven't been profitable really in 10 years now, and you have no idea why. And then you bring on someone like PowerCFO. In the first 30 days, the first thing that they say to us is, I wish I met you 5 years ago. So what I would say is there's not a bad time to look for strategy. Now, one of the things I definitely want to share is, and I think you gentlemen would agree, there's no cap on on advisors. There's advisors all over the place advising these staffing owners, but there's a big difference between an advisor and a partner, a strategic partner. We've seen clients with 5 different advisors, and they all talk really the smart, but nothing's getting done. It's just a whole bunch of advisory. So I think advisory matters, but so does, do you have a strategic partner that's going to roll their sleeves up and are passionate about getting your company healthy? I think that's the key that I preach to everyone. Are you getting healthier, or is everyone still just talking about it?
So if you take it in an actionable manner, in your experience, let's make this more actionable. So what are the 3 things? If I was today a small staffing owner, I don't have a CFO on board, what are the 3 key things that I have to look at just to see? If you had to tell someone, hey, if you went and looked at these 3 numbers, it should tell you a pretty good idea what my business is sitting at. Hence, because you see this every day. Let's make it a little actionable. So what are those 3 things that come to mind first? I had to be right, but at least some 3 things I got to go back and take a look.
I would say 3 things right away. It is about revenue. Okay. It doesn't start and end with revenue, but without question, revenue absolutely matters. 2, margins. Let's talk about your margins, but let's not talk it at the 30,000 foot view only. Let's dig into those margins. And the third thing is cash. It doesn't, again, in TJ and I were talking about this a little bit, a little while ago. Revenue without profit doesn't matter. Revenue with profit without cash in hand doesn't matter either. So all 3, you want. I will quickly focus on what your sales, what your margins look like, and what does your cash flow absolutely look like. Those are the 3 critical things that we look at right away.
So would you say at this stage, understand all 3, because in this industry, We have a saying, TJ and I have interviewed many people, met, Lord knows, by now thousands of, staffing owners, staffing, individuals. And you're always a lot of them are 2 to 4 weeks away that if a client didn't pay, they'll be out of business. They're literally 4 weeks away because their companies are using them as cash cows, right? Paying them whenever they please. Their clients are using them as that buffer, and the margins are getting less for our own fault in the staffing industry by trying to compete with each other and keep marking it down and lower. So that has always been. But would you say, in your experience, what percentage of staffing agencies are using funding, in particularly factoring?
I'm thinking through our clients. I would probably say 70 to 80% at least, maybe 85%.
Think about that. And out of that 80, so we took 80% out, 20% left. Out of those 20%, probably half of them use bank facility, credit lines from traditional banks.
Yes, that's correct.
So you're left with no more than 5 to 10% of the actual industry that has their own money that's rolling into the business where they are cash flow positive.
That's right.
Hence, if you look at it, the crutch that is used by the entire industry to get bigger and better is this funding companies, right?
That's correct.
Hence the risk and hence what they charge. They are taking the charge of being in the front and taking all the risk. And how many times, and this is a question we get all the time, and even it's our curiosity, how many times have you seen a client not pay and the funding company then go after the owner, then the owner having to really, really crash and burn because of that chain? Because in the end, you are responsible for it.
That's right. And it happens more than not. It happens more than not. Oh, of course. It's to the point where I've openly said to our clients, I think you're working for the funding company because everything that you make, you're paying out. So that's the invisible illusion here, is that these funding companies, they're working for these financial institutions that are providing the cash.
Hence the risk too. If you think about it, look at the level of risk a funding company takes in order to fund someone. And of course, if you've got perfect accounts that are going to pay, great brands, you're okay. But the fact is, those even great brands, so we just had an example with someone. TJ, I forget who we were talking. We met with a client yesterday we had a breakfast meeting with him. And he said, this one big, great company uses tons and tons of temps. He said, as soon as the first guy walks in, they tell them first thing, you're welcome to our business. Will we pay in 180 days? You want it? After that, we talk about everything else. Yeah. Think about it. If you're out 180 days before you ever get paid, what is 10,000 temps going to do for you, or 2,000 temps? You're out of business by that time.
You're done. You're absolutely done.
Right?
And what's interesting is early on, there was a financing company that I spoke to about, if they would refer clients to us, because the psychology of it is they know clients of theirs that are not dropping the right margins to the bottom line. They see their financials. And I thought it'd be great. They could refer people over and we could help them. A financial institution, it was like, no, that's a no-go. They don't have an inherent reason for a staffing company to be completely healthy. They want them to keep taking that prescription every month. They don't want them to eat better. They don't want them to exercise. Now, I'm not saying that's all financial.
Yeah, I was about to say there's a lot of them that help out, do acquisitions, they help them, and they need to be fairly paid for it. Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
But it's partly the fault of the industry itself. TJ and I both have seen enough salespeople who open one up just because they see a number that says, I'm doing 40 million, I'm doing 60 million, 80 million. You see this, Shane, probably night and day. It means nothing.
Nothing.
Zero. in this industry, if you're doing you could say I'm doing 50 million, you could be losing your pants off and you have no idea because funding company sends you X amount of dollars every week. At the end, you somehow squeeze some money out and the rest of it somehow filters down and you get another check, another input coming in on a Monday. So you're in an illusion, which, rightfully so. If you didn't have money to start with, someone else is going to make the money because there's minimal capital required to start a staffing firm.
That's right. But now what I would share is in the staffing vertical, there's so much focus on speed. How fast can I get to 10 million, 20 million, 30 million? There's not nearly as much conversation about how do I do this at the right pace and really do it the right way and get the margins to the bottom line.
And those guys survived.
That's the top 10%.
Yes.
Even if they're just starting out, if they have that discipline, in 5 years, they will be a large, profitable top 10%er. And when I say top 10%, I don't mean sales. I'm talking top 10% as in managing their business and getting the right amount of margin to the bottom line and converting that from margin into cash in their bank account. So again, there's so much focus on speed, little focus on discipline. And when I say discipline, I'm talking about going at the right pace, making the right strategic decisions in order to grow your business over time the right way, in a healthy way, so you're getting margin to the bottom line. That's the difference. When was the last time you were at a conference and you heard everyone talking about profit margins instead of sales? It doesn't happen very often. It's like sales is a badge of honor. And I have to tell people, no, the badge of honor is how much cash do you have in your bank account? We've all heard it, cash is king. But getting that, changing, I guess, the perception within staffing, moving that pendulum from the left over to the right to get them to see the light, that's what we're trying to do. That's why I'm on this podcast, is how do we get individuals to see that it's about having a healthy business, not just sales and your business is falling apart. They're literally building a business on sand. That foundation's built on sand instead of rock. And you're right. At some point, it's going to all fall apart. And it does. Once they get stuck in that swirl, oh, by the way, there's nothing you can do. It's done. There's too much damage. So our goal is when we go in and we talk to a prospect, first thing we're thinking about is, one, what's the DNA of that business owner? Are they going to be receptive of wanting to truly partner with someone to get their business healthy? And the second thing is, are they healthy enough to save? Sometimes so much damage has already occurred to their business that they're on life support. They don't even know it.
So Shane, I'm more on the product and engineering side. In terms of your, when you initiate a service or your particular service, are you pulling data out of financial systems, right? Is this a challenge you typically run into, just getting the core data out, the core financials out? Well, that's pretty straightforward these days, meaning getting those financial statements or exactly the type of data you're looking for.
I would say that our number one issue is horrific data. I'm going to be crystal clear. It's a lot of staffing owners, they know it too. So our typical engagement, for example, we have a quick intro call. And if it makes sense, we say, hey, let's have a quick discovery conversation. Okay. But obviously you got to sign an NDA to protect them. Okay. But then I say, listen, send us your last 3 years of tax returns and send us your last 3 years of internal financials. And almost the first thing they always say is, I'm really embarrassed. Our financials are really bad because my sister's best friend's cousins aunt who retired has been doing her bookkeeping, and I don't think she knows the difference between a revenue and an expense. I'm just being transparent. And I'm like, we get that all the time, right? Now, so they know their financials are in a tough spot. They don't understand why that's really bad. Okay. And the other thing, we've had prospects say, why do you want to see our last 3 years tax returns? We believe in the approach of trust but verify. And I can tell you probably 10%, maybe 15% of the time when we review those tax returns, we find a major discrepancy. For example, we have a client that again, their best friend's cousin, sister's aunt that retired was doing their books. She, unfortunately, when she was reconciling their bank account, was instead of offsetting to AR, she was booking against revenue again. So revenue was booked twice. No one caught it. Over $1 million in additional revenue was documented. That information was passed along to their CPA, which they were getting a really good deal, right? So be careful with that. They're giving me a really good deal. Well, they're probably just processing, not asking a whole lot of questions. So they process it. That client paid well over $400,000 in federal taxes that specific year that we had to do an amended tax return to get money back for, because they would have never known. So that's the kind of stuff where even internally within PowerCFO, we preach, speed is important, but discipline. We follow a very disciplined approach too, because we know where money is lost, where margin is lost. So that's why, again, before we even get into what we consider that's a little bit more strategy session, we already have looked at your tax returns. We've already looked at your last 3 years of financials. And the tough thing about the last 3 years of financials is they are bad. And if they're bad, that means the owner's flying blind. But not only that, I would even question the information I was given to your CPA for do your taxes. It probably wasn't that good either. So it is a chain reaction across the entire spectrum. That's why we say, let's get the foundation right, but not just financials. Your operational data matters too. Garbage in, garbage out, no matter what. So that's why let's get the foundation right. And then we can start putting the right processes in play, such as we always hear individuals talk about, hey, we need timely, accurate monthly financials. I'm like, yeah, that's really important. But what's also important is, do you understand the story of those financials? The second thing is 13-week cash projections. Are you really getting those? Are they kept up with every week? Things change. Okay. Do you have a business plan? Oh, it's in your head. Then you do not have a business plan. And that business plan, do you break it down by quarter? Do you define what success looks like? Have you defined what those KPIs that you should be measuring? What are those? Then we graduate, right? How many times, I'm sure the two of you have spoken with individuals. Do you get a weekly flash report? Because you are operating at a major strategic disadvantage versus your competition. If you're waiting for monthly financials, you need weekly financials. What are those weekly financials? Remember, we just talked about those KPIs. What should you be measuring? What does success look like? If you're off track, well, you're not waiting 6 weeks at least. What do we have to do to get them back on track? And then what we press upon individuals too, and we do it internally here at PowerCFO as well, is, do you do a quarterly health assessment on your company? And compare that back to your documented business plan by quarter? Do you do a SWOT analysis so you understand your strengths, weaknesses, opportunity, threats of your business? Do you do benchmarking so you can see how you're doing against your competition on a quarterly basis? And the reason I bring up all that is That's what a doctor does with your personal health. They run all these tests so they can tell you what you need to do to improve. And what would a doctor tell you? I don't know. 90% of patients, they just want to take a pill. They don't want to change their lifestyle. They don't want to work out a little here and there. They don't want to watch what they eat. They don't want to make sure they get their proper amount of sleep. And we see the same thing when it comes to working with a business owner. 90% just want to take a pill. They want something quick and easy. But that pill alone isn't going to get you healthy. It's going to help you maybe survive a little bit longer, but it's not going to help you get healthy. And that's what we talk about at PowerCFO. We've opted not to work with prospects if we feel a business owner really doesn't want to get healthy.
I mean, that's basically what I was thinking about, right? Because it really comes down to, do you really want it? I mean, they've got a competent, knowledgeable resource like you guys to come in and help. But if you don't want the help and you're still gonna, quote unquote, eat unhealthy and continue eating unhealthy and do all the stuff you're not supposed to do, then it is what it is, right? At the end of the day. But I think this industry, this staffing vertical, is notorious for just this cash flow management. We see it all day long, versus other industries, right? Even within staffing, actually, IT staffing tends to be significantly more profitable. But when you come down to the light industrial, blue collar, low markups, it's all about, as you mentioned, it's going to come down to cash flows and workers' comp, really, at the end of the day. And it's complicated because now you're factoring, you're receiving, you got your taxes due, you've got your employer side taxes, and there's so much going on. And I think now, in terms of your service, Shane, do you then on a weekly basis, once you've done the audit, is it weekly, monthly? Do you have like flashcards, as you mentioned, reports sent out to you that you guys keep track of and say, or have maybe monthly meetings to say you guys are on track and so forth? You do that as it on? So
that's a great question. So the first thing, a typical engagement, what we do is the first thing is we want to be quick but not hurry, right? So the first thing is we want to make sure that the foundation is stable. The next thing that we do is we focus on the first layer of the profitability pyramid, getting timely, accurate, valued monthly financial reviews, get those 13-week cash projection, get that high-level business plan in play. Once that is stable, then we move on step 2 of the profitability pyramid. That is where that weekly flash report comes in. That's where we turn around and start doing the quarterly analysis. The reason I don't throw a whole lot at individuals is a couple things. One, they got a business to run, right? We can't be a total distraction. Okay. So we have to be sensitive to that. And I would say probably the other thing is the concept of you got to crawl before you walk before you run before you jump. It matters. Let's do it with excellence. But I will tell you, by taking that approach, within 12 months, a non-performing, when I say non-performing, to me, that's non-profitable company will be profitable. When you start getting in the second year, that's when you start seeing that snowball effect, all the goodness, that profit starts building more and more and more, because you got to be patient, because that owner who is our partner, it takes them a little bit of time to start wrapping their mind around. They're going to start developing their mind, changing how they're looking at things as well. You can't force it. You have to go at the right pace for them. But once they get it, it's magical.
A few things here on this is, you had mentioned something about the charges you charge, right? There's an investment and there's an expense. This is another issue that even when you're selling systems, I've now come up with an analogy which may help you, may help us, everybody, is in the staffing business, they look at it as, oh, it's an expense. The CPA firm's going to charge me X amount of dollars a month. I mean, let's break this down a little bit, right? So if I can bring in, so I'll give you our methodology. We have a software platform for the staffing industry, all the way from recruiting ATS down to where they have timekeeping, which is the blood of this business. So if I don't collect the time, I'm not going to be able to bill for it. And if so,
Right.
our key is that as soon as you collect time, get an approval from a client, immediately bill for it before it goes to payroll, which is an expense, right? That's the way you do it. You can save yourself a lot of time. Now, if you think about this whole equation, for them, it's like, I'll give you an example. We run for sales, we run HubSpot for support and everything. Yeah, $5 to $8 a month is your typical bill. $8,000. That's about half an individual's pay scale. Today, if someone who's in the software business or in any business, at least in California, probably even your wage hour minimum salaried is a little over 71,000, right? If you ended up paying even half or three-quarter of an individual's pay, and you could probably not need as many individuals, it makes an entire world of sense. And even if a half an individual's pay rate is being paid for the health of your business, it's nothing. But in the mindset, it is, it's going to be $2,000. It's going to be $5,000 a month. I can't afford that. It is where that entire equation gets stuck because they're not equating it to the number of people. Yeah, I have 40 employees. Maybe you could do with 30. Or those 40 employees could call clients and call temps and double your business while they're dealing with all of this minutia all day, and you don't even know where you're, So the equation has begun to change on that as we start relating it to what they understand. I mean, Shane, I know in your neck of the woods here, you go out for lunch, it's $20-$25 every day, right? Take two
For one
lunches,
person.
$50,
Yes.
5 yes,
That's right.
5 $250 a week, you got $1,000. Your lunch alone every day at the office, if you go out and have a lunch across the street with two people or lunch and dinner, you're going to be out $1,000 a month.
Right.
The world has moved on in that expense. Why not invest the same into your business, into your systems, into your that, if you just equate it? And I believe you must be finding that challenging as well. When you go out and say, I'm going to give you CFO service for X amount, the return on investment is immeasurable, just the way it is with systems. And then I guess the only way to equate it is how many people.
I don't disagree, but I will tell you this. I think a lot of staffing owners have been burned. Individuals, and I'm just going to speak up on the accounting and finance side, okay? Hey, my peer group, they're more times than not, they're the reason why staffing owners are very cautious, very reluctant when they hear someone say, we're not doing tactical work. That's an expense. This is strategic. This is investment. That's not what they hear. What they hear is, I've been there, done that. This is baloney. And when they go to their advisors, and these advisors have been in this business for 30 or 40 years, right? That's why they can hang their hat as a trusted advisor. They tell them the same thing. Be careful. These people are going to talk a big game and not deliver. They're not making it up. It's because it's happened.
And I'll tell you why on that. Because majority of the firms or CPAs, or be it financial, unless you've come from staffing and understand staffing, there's no way you can deal with it. It's like a CPA
agree.
down the street tells you, bring your business in, I'm great at cash flow analysis. The CPA has no clue from one to the other. Staffing is a different animal. Your cash flows are completely different. Your expenses are different. Your COGS are different. A darn gross profit report is one of the hardest things to manage. TJ, I know, has done Lord knows how many, and each person gives him a different version of it.
Yeah.
That's how crazy it is sometimes.
It is. And that's the blessing of PowerCFO is when I look at our CFOs, we have over 100 years of staffing experience. And I can't tell you how many times we have a client that said, listen, I tried 2 fractional CFO firms before. They said that staffing was one of the verticals they were strong in. But at the end of the day, they were trying to partner with us like we were, just an insurance company, a manufacturing company. They were literally trying to just cookie cutter the whole process. They didn't slow down and go, really, what's the unique DNA of this industry? And what's the unique DNA of this specific owner? And then create an amazing statement of work tailored specifically to that business owner with criteria that's calling out what is success. And then at the end of the statement of work and say, this is your ROI if on this investment. This is what it's going to cost you. This is the margin we're looking to pick up. I already laid out what the plan is, a detailed plan to get there. And this is your ROI. Is it worth it? And I can tell you that can be a difference. Now, I will say, though, you can't get around the mindset of back office is nothing but expense. It's bad. Keep it, just minimize it. It's all about sales because that's what they're comfortable with. They're going to pivot. They're going to defer back to what they're masterful in, and they are really good at sales. The problem is, again, as we spoke earlier, if you're at 10 million in sales and you're losing money, and I tell you, listen, you need to focus on margin, partner with PowerCFO. Nope. Now they're at 15 million sales. Guess what? There's still no profit. Then
probably losing more money as a percentage.
Yeah, then I come to them and say, hey, listen, you ready for PowerCFO? We can get money to your bottom line. Make some really good money for you. No. I don't need you. I got a CPA. Well, we're not just a CPA. I get it. 20 million in revenue, still operating at a loss. I mean, I've went to staffing owners that haven't been profitable for 10 years in a row, and they say, no, thanks. We got this. So I'm not sure if in our situation, we'd like to say we're the finance doctor. We want you healthy. Okay. I don't know how to get individuals in staffing to realize they cannot sell themselves out of being sick. And so the ones that get it, we're partnering with, and they're doing really well. They're growing, they're acquiring. The other 90% that don't get it, they want to keep their expense minimal. They're not going to see this as an investment, and they're going to keep barely scraping by. And that actually breaks my heart because, again, at the end of the day, this is about, I love winning. And it blows my mind, individuals that don't get what winning looks like, what it's going to take. But we all see it. But again, they have lots of advisors, but the advisors aren't rolling up their sleeves to get things done, and they have no framework to get it. You ever have someone, there's an old saying out there. I forget what movie it was in. The guy said, I'm drowning and you're doing nothing but describing the water to me. You're not throwing me a life jacket. So that, in my opinion, you need to be careful. If you have too many advisors, they're doing nothing but describing the water that you're drowning in. But a partner is going to throw you a life jacket. They're going to get you out of that horrible situation where you're drowning, get you safe. That's the difference, in my opinion.
And I'll let TJ go for more technical questions after this. While we're at this, evaluations, okay, today is typically still staffing industry. What we've noticed is typically they're sold on whatever the EBITDA is, multiplied by X amount. Are there any set formulas running today that somebody could actually get good value out of their firm? Because that's key, right? At the end of the day, somebody wants to sell. I know gross margins matter, then margins, then multiplication of those. Where are you seeing it today, or has anything changed?
I would add one more important wrinkle in that, and that is the diversification of your client mix. Okay. Remember what we just had, we were just talking about this is you have a staffing client that grew rather quick, but 70% of their revenue is that one client. What happens if that one client goes another direction? So the client spread really matters, and the margin by client spread actually matters. So what I'm seeing in the industry is, we talked about the unique DNA of a business owner, right? In a business, you have to be able to show what we just talked about, but how dependent is the business on you as a business owner too? You think anyone's going to buy you if you're if you're making all the decisions, if you're bottlenecking everything? No, they're not, because uh, they want to buy a company. And if you walk away, what company's left? So there's all these inherent risks that a acquiring firm is going to look at. And that's five that we just you went through rather quick. Those are the five important, measuring, I would say sticks. But when you talk about what type of multiplier that you're seeing, it really matters based off those five things that we just, quickly talked about. That's the devil is in the details on when it comes to what is a real true valuation of your company. It you have to get into the details, and so I could literally sit with someone for 30 minutes, go through their financials and tell them where they're weak and where they are strong if they want to try to sell their company in 1 to 2 years. That's easy stuff. The challenge is, are they willing to truly make the required changes in order to really maximize that payout?
Got it. So Shane, I'll kind of focus in on the AI front. We use AI extensively within our own work now platform, right, end to end. Whether it's on a recruiting front, whether it's on a timekeeping front, we've kind of built it natively around data that we have. It's a centralized repository. We're able to grab the data securely, perform some AI insights to data, and then which frankly 4 years ago was very difficult. 3 years ago was very difficult. It just got easier with time. Now, in your specific area, accounting and taxes, and when you're auditing these staffing agencies, are you seeing AI tools come in, external AI tools that come in and promise that, hey, give us your data and we will show you where your issues are, or products that these staffing agencies are using that themselves are adding AI features into it? I mean, are you seeing those tools kind of come in, either assist someone like you or actually maybe get in your way? Or like, what is your observation there in the AI front?
I'll say this. I think that in the staffing vertical, it's no different than lots of other industries. AI, without question, is, as you just pointed out, TJ, it allows much quicker access to data, right? It's just amazing. The challenge is AI is not making decisions for you. So the top 10% of staffing firms, what's going to make them different than others is not only are they using AI, but they're also able to make the right business decisions based off that information coming out of AI. That is the difference. So it's like, it's no different than if I say, here, TJ, here's your month-end financials. And you're like, well, what do I do with those? Exactly. So now you have access to all this data. What are you going to do with it? How are you going to make it meaningful? How are you going to make that data a strategic advantage for you over and beyond your competition? Again, AI is amazing in a lot of ways, but it's not going to help you with strategy. Not yet, at least.
Yeah, and that's what I was going to say. Not yet, because all the data that we're extracting, eventually these models will be created that will be trained to make some sort of semi-informed decisions. That's just the
right.
way AI evolves. But again, nothing like a human being coming in with a past experience. But man, every 90 days we see something new in AI. Every 90 days there's some update going on, and every time there's an update from whether it's ChatGPT or Claude or Grok, there's a whole industry that either goes out of business or new businesses prop up because now there's opportunity.
TJ, it's interesting you say that, because let's talk about ChatGPT, which I love, by the way. My fiance swears that ChatGPT is my side chick because I spend so much time with ChatGPT. I just love it. I almost have an addiction. But the other day I was talking with ChatGPT, and there was a curveball that was thrown at us that ChatGPT did not point out. So what did I do? I went back to ChatGPT. I was kind of frustrated. I said, "Thanks a lot, ChatGPT, Mr. Know-it-all here. How did you not red flag this?" Right? And it said, "You didn't ask your question the right way." So it still comes down to, even with AI, the three of us here, we could go to ChatGPT, in our own words, ask a question, and then keep peeling that onion back. And there's a good chance we're all going to end up with different results, because it's about how are you asking the questions? What are you doing with the data it provides to keep peeling that back, right? The more masterful you are at that, and I think there's a lot of strategy there, the better off you're going to be with AI. But again, make no mistake, if you gave 100 staffing owners the same AI amazing tool, they're all not going to get the same amazing results. And some of this is, and I'm sure you, the two of you being in technology, you've seen it. How many times have you seen a business owner say, "I purchased this tech stack because I heard so many amazing things about it, but it's horrible"? And you're like, "What? It's horrible? Let's talk about this." Long story, fast forward, you find out they're using that technology to the 20% of its capability. They gave up on that technology. And so, oh, by the way, they probably shouldn't even bought that technology without vetting it out. Instead, they chased the nice shiny toys. And congratulations, when you look at their P&L, their IT costs, they're through the roof, because every 6 to 12 months they're buying new technology that is the new shiny toy, but they're not utilizing it. So they got a whole bunch of non-strategic technology expense on their books that they're not even getting value out of. So that is where, earlier we were talking about, if you're just starting your company, or you've been in business for 3 to 5 years or 6 or more, when should you bring on a strategic CFO? There's lots of good times to bring on a strategic CFO. If you've been in business 10 years and you got 13% of your margin going to pay for old technology that you're not using, it sure would have been great if you do a CFO 5 years earlier that would have maybe helped you not make that decision.
Yeah, absolutely right. Absolutely right. Sammy wanted to point out we got getting close to the hour here. So
I know. That's why I want to ask a couple of final questions. On the technology, Shane, the way we see it is typically everything is bought with good intent, but if they don't have somebody in-house that is going to implement and make sure it's actually implemented across and tested and tried and everybody's trained, that commitment's not there, it falls right off. It's like all of us go by tech in the beginning of the year that we think, in our phones is a perfect example. You think I'm using 100% of the features on this? Not really. If they gave me, honest to God, if they said only 5 icons allowed, 5 apps, pick your top 5, and here's the simplest phone on earth, makes a great
Yeah.
phone call, does this. You'd probably pick the 5 that you use, and all the rest of the crazy features you think you need are probably not going to be there, right?
You wouldn't even miss them, would you?
You wouldn't even know. You do it because, every time we buy a car, isn't that the same thing as I'm going to lift it up 4 inches? I've never been to the mountains. That's kind of how it works, right? So that's human nature. We want things that are shiny, they're beautiful objects. And especially in staffing, because in its technology, it's a challenge, is because a lot of times they don't have someone that is internally, that they have an IT team or someone heading this. And as we see the bigger ones, they got bigger for a reason, is they've got project managers and somebody in IT. They have a CFO in-house, and those are the investments they made at a time they probably couldn't even afford. And they put in a stack, and now they're successful, and they're bringing in the right strategic advisors into the equation, and they're thinking differently. And there's a time that it's always a time to do more business, but there's never a bad time to be a profitable business. It's always a great time to be a profitable business, because this industry is unforgiving. Every week changes the game. How many industries do that? Ours doesn't. Ours moves the needle on a quarterly basis. In staffing, it's every week you got to be on top of it.
You do. And I want to go back to the profitability pyramid, because we talked about levels 1 and level 2 of the profitability pyramid. Level 3 is all about identification of the real problem, not the symptoms. What we find time and time again, staffing owners, they make business decisions off symptoms of problems, not the real problem. And then they wonder why they still have pain. Why
Let's
they
give
still
an example.
have
Give us one example somebody could just relate to.
Well, let's look at. We were talking about some of the new IT coming out, right? And we talked about, you have staffing owners that just like us with our good old phones here, might be only using 10 to 20% of the capability, and they're still having problems. Well, again, the reason why that's still a problem is because level 3, the profitability pyramid, if you would have really done levels 1 and 2, which would have identified real problems, that visibility level 1 and 2, then when you get to level 3, you know what the problem is. You're not chasing symptoms. So you don't even go down that path and purchase that technology, because you know it's not going to solve the real problem. Let's move one step even further. Level 4 of the profitability pyramid is about, you know what the problem is, finding the right solution. Then once you find the solution, then you get to level 5, which is execution. You got to be able to execute it well. Then what's number 6 of the profitability pyramid? Ensuring that whatever process was put in play is followed. You have to, it's a full circle. You keep going round and round, because it's not good enough just to identify the problem. It's not good enough just to identify what the solution is. It's not good enough just to identify TJ is the one who's going to own the process here to make sure this is all implemented well. You have to be able to follow up and measure, is it successful? So that's where the pyramid comes in. And you probably haven't even seen the profitability pyramid, right? And you brought this stuff up that's in the profitability pyramid. And the reason it's in there is because it's critically important.
Shane, thank you so much for this. This was awesome. And this is the first one we did actually based on the financial side. And we'd love to have you back as well. And also, let's see how we can collaborate on this, because there's so much that our clients always need. We have hundreds of staffing firms with us, and they use the tech. And again, our take has always been, technology is not going to solve the problem. If you're not going to pick up the phone and call a temp who's in trouble, no text message is going to help them out. This is a people business. That's required. Hence, our
Yes.
formula is that, hey, use technology, it's a train, but you still need to go around in the train and ask everybody how they're doing. Let the technology do its piece to make it faster, better. You could be going at 150 miles an hour. The train can go. But if you've got the time to walk around and talk to people, that's your business first. Because if they're happy, if they come out on the other side, you'll always be in business. So that's the
completely
analogy
agree.
we've tried and tested.
We take the approach in that we lead with goodness. And when you do that, goodness comes to you. So
Absolutely.
we often work with prospects, and some people are like, you're telling the prospect before they even a client all their problems. They don't even need you now. I'm like, well, they need us to execute it. But you're right. They could take this and run with it. And that's okay. We did good.
So what, Shane? It's good. It's good for the industry. It's good for all of us.
That's right.
We do so much. Our job in software is because both TJ and I have been at this for so long. Sometimes we just talk to them for an hour and we actually discourage them to get the software. We discourage them to say, don't go this route because this is not going to get executed. You're going to be frustrated. Everybody here, it's not solving your problem because either you have too many offices that don't need to be there. Your clients are not paying you on time. We can't solve that problem. We can give you a few tools. But if you don't fundamentally change these 4 or 5 things, no software, nobody's going to help you. So thank you again, Shane, so much. All the best to you from us. And again,
Appreciate it.
hope we can do this
Thank
again.
you so much, Shane.